Yeah, that's simpler. Who's our tech guru for the next few days? Actually, it's the last few days, isn't it? The last few days of this retreat. Uh, thank you to Chris. Chris, anything you need to say before we begin?
Just to welcome everyone. We made it this far through the month. And yeah, just great to see everyone here still. That's enough.
I was thinking back actually to the beginning of the retreat. It seems so long ago now. There was Maitri Devi taking us through the earth element. Long time ago. That's sort of vivid at the same time. Yes, it's been quite a journey for many of us. Okay, so we'll begin. I'm sure a few more people will come. I'm Lokabandhu. I'd like to welcome you to this portion of the retreat. I'm sitting in my attic up in Glastonbury, Somerset. It's a kind of damp morning in Somerset. And yes, here we are for the last 4 days of our month at home with the elements. And this is the time, the last 4 days, to kind of bring everything together. We've had 4 days on earth with Maitri Devi, 4 days on water, 4 very beautiful days with Ratnadeva, 4 days on fire, Kamalanandi, Amaragita on air, Kevala on space. Last few days was Mahabodhi on consciousness. So that's the 6 elements of Buddhism. And this is the last 4 days, just kind of bringing them all together. And what I'd like to do in the mornings, these next 4 days, is just lead us through a kind of classic Buddhist meditation practice, fairly straightforwardly, called, guess what, the 6 element practice. Surprise, surprise. And it's one of those practices which is both an awareness practice, just taking your attention to earth, water, fire, and air, and so on, but also potentially an insight practice where you can reflect more deeply on the nature of the elements and therefore yourself. So it's going to be a bit of both. I think the first couple of days will be more tuning into the 6 elements, the kind of dance of the elements, if you like, which makes, life. And then the last couple of days more reflective. And the way we'll do the reflections is just dropping in questions for us to kind of consider, to reflect on. And they're kind of questions you can take, more or less deeply as you choose. So that part of it's very optional, enter deeply into the reflections or lightly as you wish. Anyway, without further ado, we'll begin. We'll do the morning puja, which we've done most days of the retreat, the beautiful morning puja, and then the 4 Brahma Viharas. And then I'll lead us through the 6 element practice. So we'll do it in call and response. You're unmuted, but hopefully you can respond in your own way, in your own spaces. So, the morning puja. This human birth is precious. An opportunity to awaken. But this body is impermanent. Ready or not, one day I shall die. So this life I must know as the tiny splash of a raindrop, a thing of beauty that disappears, even as it comes into being. The karma I create shapes the course of my life. But however I act, life always has difficulties. No one can control it all. Only the Dharma can free me and others from suffering forever. Therefore I recall my heart's longing for freedom and resolve to make use of every day and night to realize it. And the verses of the 4 Brahmaviharas. May all beings enjoy happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they not be separated from the great happiness, devoid of suffering. May they dwell in the great equanimity, free from craving, aversion, and delusion. Thank you. So just taking a moment to settle yourself for meditation, making sure you're sitting comfortably, however you wish to. Just tuning into yourself in a very broad way to begin with. Your body, here we are, first thing in the morning. Your mood, your emotional weather as it is. And your mind, what's going on in your mind. Just a general recollection. It's kind of your starting point. Here we are. And it doesn't matter how you are, it's just good to be fully aware of it. Taking it into account as we start the practice. And as you become aware, making sure there's a flavor in your awareness, a strong flavor of loving kindness, of metta, of kind of well-wishing towards yourself. So there might be aches and pains and grumpiness or whatever it is. Just be aware of all that with a warm, appreciative, kindly, loving kindness. And kind of having faith in impermanence, that nothing about all that is fixed. Everything can change. So that's our starting point for this particular period of meditation. Short, precious opportunity to meditate together. So the 6 element practice begins with the earth element. So taking your awareness particularly to the kind of solid dimension of your experience. First of all, your body. Here we are. Just feel your weight settling down, supported by the ground, your bones, your structure, if you like. This is the earth element in us. Kind of solid, kind of resistant, but supportive. It's our foundation. If you want to, taking your mind to all the different bits of your body, bones, hair, teeth, you can get quite anatomical about it if you wish to. But the principle is the earth element in us. Kind of becoming aware of it, and again appreciating it. Without it, we'd be a kind of puddle on the floor. So, the earth element. Then, in our mind, kind of imaginatively reaching out to consider the earth element all around us, masses and masses and masses of it. There's the solid ground under our feet, under our bum. There's our house, whatever kind of building we're in. There's the earth and the trees, other beings of all shapes and sizes. The earth element outside us goes on and on and on, makes up so much of what we see. And it has this nature of being kind of resistant, gets in our way sometimes, doesn't do what we want, but it supports us. It provides our structure. Kind of protects us as well. So the earth element inside us, the earth element around us. But then, this is the magic of the practice, beginning to reflect that we are constantly exchanging the earth element with the whole world around us. We're taking in food, we are going to the toilet. The earth element inside us has come into us by one way or another, and it'll pass out of us in due course. Downstairs in our kitchen is almost certainly breakfast. The earth element in the kitchen will be our breakfast, which will become us. So the earth element is in movement from inside to outside, outside to inside. So kind of visualizing that flow, not as a kind of fantasy, but as an imaginatively connecting with what's really happening. There really is an exchange of the earth element inside, outside, outside, inside. And it's been going on our entire life. It will go on our entire life. We can't stop it. We don't want to stop it. If we tried to stop it, all sorts of things would start to go wrong very quickly. It's called constipation, among other things. So just visualizing this flow, imaginatively connecting with this dance, this exchange of the earth element, inside, outside, outside, inside. You can kind of consider it quite specifically if you want, like imagining your breakfast, cornflakes, muesli, banana, toast, or just generally like a dance. But you're visualizing imaginatively what's really going on. It's not a kind of fantasy. You can visualize that the earth element you let go of will, at some point, sooner or later, become part of someone else. Like it becomes compost, compost becomes vegetables, vegetables becomes dinner, sooner or later. So the earth element flows through us and it's shared with many, many others, with everybody, with all life. So some part of the earth element is kind of temporarily ours, like it's inside our skin, but it's not permanently ours. It's a flow. So you might even get a sense of the earth element just as a kind of whole web connecting us, moving between different kind of nodes or beings, temporarily part of one person, temporarily part of another. And while the earth element is within us, it's kind of consistent enough to make a difference, to give us a reliable body, a reliable, life. But at the same time, so it's real in a way, it's ours in a way, but it's not permanently ours. We can't hold on to it. And yet it's good enough to do its job, supporting us. So the earth element is in process. Moving on now, the practice is in 6 stages. Taking your mind, your awareness, your imagination to the water element. So in our bodies, there is the water element. Various kinds of liquids. Again, you can get quite precise, anatomical about it, or just in general. We have blood, tears, sweat, stomach acids. Our bodies are very fluid. So just feeling the kind of the watery element within us, appreciating this bit. If the earth element supports us, the water element allows us to move, makes us flexible. In a way, gives us life. As I'm speaking, I can feel saliva in my mouth, helping me talk. So again, visualizing, but in a sense of bringing to mind what is really happening. Our bodies are full of the water element, fluids. And around us, taking our mind out again to the world around, the whole planet is covered in the water element in all sorts of ways. It's a blue planet. The lakes, oceans, rivers, streams, rain, clouds, waterfalls, puddles. The water element is everywhere. And again, bringing to mind the constant flow, the exchange, the dance of the water element outside and inside. We drink, we pass water. Water comes in, water goes out. And as it goes out, it kind of spreads out across the world in all sorts of ways and is shared by other beings. The water we take in isn't brand new water, fresh from some factory. It's been shared by other beings since goodness knows when, millions of years. It's been our morning coffee has been part of so many creatures, quite literally. So just bringing that to mind, enjoying it, kind of marveling at it. This flow, this exchange, this dance. It's been going on our whole life. It will go on our whole life. We can't stop it, and we wouldn't want to. We talk about bursting for a pee. That's what happens if you try and stop this constant flow exchange. So again, getting a sense, if you can, of the water element just pervading the world. And a little bit of it is kind of temporarily part of us. Temporarily, it's within us, and temporarily, it's doing this fantastic job of keeping us going. Lucky us. But it'll flow out of us, and some more water elements will flow into us. And that'll keep us going too. So the whole thing is a bit of a mystery, a bit amazing, perhaps a little bit scary. You can't hold onto it, but it works. And again, we'll move on, this time to the fire element. So getting a feeling for the warmth of our body. Hopefully we're feeling warm, not cold. Just feeling that warmth, the pleasure of the warmth. It's the warmth of life. If it was too hot, it would be dangerous. If it was not hot enough, it would be cold. It would be painful. So fire is this precious element which we need kind of in moderation. Not too much, not too little. And the fire element has come into us from the energy we have consumed, probably as part of our food, etc. Maybe by sitting by a fire. I've seen that in some of your backgrounds, lovely little log fires in the morning, central heating, whatever. Energy has come into us from outside. So again, the fire element is within, and the fire element is without. Sunshine, flames, hot water, fossil fuels, solar panels, just visualizing the energy. We are surrounded by and appreciating the bit that keeps us warm. Maybe bringing to mind memories when you were cold, the fire element was not there. Remember just the light in finding warmth again. Bringing to mind a time something burnt you. It was too hot. Sunburn, maybe a flame. Just feeling the kind of the power, the danger of the fire element. But appreciating the warmth within us. And just visualizing again that constant flow. We can't hold on to this warmth. We need the fire element from outside us. At least here in Britain we do. And there it is. We're lucky, we can be grateful that we have enough of it to stay warm. So part of this practice is kind of visualizing, taking our mind to interconnectedness. There's a kind of boundary which makes up us. This is me. This is my shape. This is my body. But it's a boundary that the elements flow across. The earth comes in and out, the water, the fire. All the elements flow in and out of our boundary. And we can't stop that. So the air element, the fourth of our elements, is very obvious. Every moment, every minute, we breathe in, we breathe out. We take in air, we let go of air. So taking our mind to the fourth element, the element of air. Being aware of the air within us, and then a moment later, it's not. It's the air outside us. But there's some more air, we breathe it in. So the universe, the world, just gives us this gift of endless air. Hopefully fresh air, clean air, good air. So just a moment of mindfulness of breathing. But especially aware of this flow, in, out. Mine, not mine. Mine, not mine. And just like the other elements, we've been exchanging air with the world around us. our entire lives, and will continue to do so the rest of our life. In fact, the end of exchanging air is the end of life. We talk about our last breath. So we can't hold on to the air, and yet it's kind of there. It's there for us. But we can begin to drop in a question. So the question is, out of all these elements, which bit of it can I lay claim to? There's the earth, water, fire, air, flowing in and out. Some of it is inside us at the moment. But which elements, however large or small, can I lay claim to? That's mine. Mine, mine, mine. See if you can identify some earth, or air, or fire, or water that's guaranteed to be yours. A bit like you might say, it's my book, or my car, or my whatever. This is my earth. Can you find any earth, water, fire, or air and say, this is mine, for keeps, so to speak? And the classic Buddhist answer to that question is that you can't. You cannot find any atom, any piece of earth, water, fire, and air that is guaranteed to remain yours. The whole thing is in process, in flow. But Buddhism also says it doesn't matter. The whole thing works. It's good enough. Life goes on. But that's an answer we have to discover perhaps for ourselves. Buddhism talks about, in the Heart Sutra, holding to nothing whatever. That was the theme of the whole Buddhafield season a year ago, holding to nothing whatever. And that's a kind of scary place to be, and yet maybe it's okay. Life does go on, even though the elements flow through us. So we'll move on. The fifth element. The fifth element is space. So what we can begin with here is the literal physical space we are occupying. The shape of our bodies, if you like, and the particular location of our bodies. Somewhere in the room, in our house, in our town, in our location, we are taking up a little bit of space. In a sense, it's ours because we would naturally resist anybody trying to occupy the same space. They would come along and bump into us. So for this period of time, we are taking up this piece of space and getting a feeling for us in our kind of substance, taking up our space, standing our ground, if you like. Here we are. And there's the physical space we take up, the shape of our bodies. But a little bit bigger than that, there's the kind of more psychic space around us. You know, we talk about needing space. But we can reflect that as soon as we move, we've vacated a certain piece of space. Somebody else can come and sit in the same chair. And we've moved, and we're taking up a different piece of space. Maybe we've walked downstairs to have our cornflakes. So we are constantly taking up space and vacating space. For one moment it's ours, for another moment it's open, it's up for grabs. And once we've moved, there's no trace of the space we used to occupy. We don't leave a label saying, this was my space, reserved. We've just moved on and the space is open. So again, getting a sense, visualizing this constant dance of all of us through space. And sometimes two people do try and take up the same space. Then you do bump into people. But by and large, we kind of dance around each other. We dance with each other. And the space is always there. So we share space in the same way that we share the air, the water, the fire, the earth. We can't hold on to very much of it, and yet the space is there when we need it. Certainly for our physical bodies. Hopefully our psychic needs as well. So space is more intangible than the other elements, which do have at least some physicality to them. Space is kind of invisible, and yet there it is, here it is. But we need to move on again to the last of the 6 elements, which is consciousness. Consciousness is even more mysterious than space. But a good place to start is simple awareness, sense consciousness. So coming back to our immediate sense experience, feeling the earth, water, fire, air, feeling the ground beneath us, feeling whatever we're feeling through our senses. Again, with this attitude of loving kindness. So there might be emotions attached to it. Certain experiences are pleasant or unpleasant. But being aware of our real experience in this moment with loving kindness. So this is our sense consciousness. And it comes in through our senses into our mind, where we process it in various ways, make sense of it, think about it, act on it. And in this stage, maybe reflecting that consciousness always has a point of view. So we're experiencing the elements right here through our senses, which are part of our body. As we're sitting on our chair, in our room, wrapped in our blanket, etc. So it's all coming in from our point of view. And that's natural. And of course, that is where our consciousness begins. But kind of reflecting that another person has another point of view. Their consciousness is located in whatever bit of space they are taking up. It might be next door to you, might be miles away. Their consciousness is attached to a different collection of elements in a different piece of space, whereas our consciousness is here. And kind of maybe getting a sense of how it has to be that way, but it's also a bit arbitrary. How come our consciousness is so stuck to this particular little bundle of elements which don't really belong to us anyway? And for our senses, they are, as it were, built into our body. For our mind, perhaps less so. Our mind consciousness is less bound to the physical body. You get a sense of that in dreams, in imagination, in visionary experiences. That somehow our consciousness is linked to our bodies, but bigger than our bodies. And it has a point of view through our senses, but it doesn't have to define us entirely. So we need to begin to finish the meditation soon. There'll be a bit of space for questions and reflections, if anyone has any. So before we finish, just coming back to our immediate physical experience. Here we are, sitting on our cushions, on our chairs, feeling the earth element in us, supported by the earth element beneath us. Feeling the water element in us, and maybe aware of the earth water element around us. Feeling our warmth, hopefully, and the warmth of our surroundings. And breathing in, breathing out. And if we wish to, just remembering the question, out of all this, what can we really lay claim to? which bit of earth, water, fire and air can we lay claim to and say, that's mine? And if we realize we can't actually lay claim to any of it, we can ask another question, does it matter? And allowing the questions just to be there in a kind of light way, almost a playful way, kind of serious but playful at the same time. And we can let them remain there through the day as we get up, go downstairs, take in the earth, water, whatever, go about our days. But for now, starting to come out of the meditation, no hurry, just gently moving out, taking our attention back into the world around us, opening our eyes, having a stretch. Oh. Having a stretch. Oh. Oh.